Kirby!
Dominic.
Welcome
it's so
to
great to
Byrne
see
Burge.
you. Thanks for having me. Congratulations on the new space.
Yes, come on in,
So
come on in and have a look round. So, this is Byrne Burge. We're just off Savile Row.
Yes,
We're just over there is Savile Row, and this is our shoemaking space.
Well, congratulations on the new space. It's hard to believe it's been exactly 1 year since we first did the bit down in Eastbourne. With you taking the measurements. It was right around the time of the 2018 World Championship of Shoemaking.
Yeah.
We've just finished the 2019, and I can't wait to see the shoes. So
and here we are, look at this
finished.
on a bright sunny day. Last time we were in Eastbourne, it was freezing
frigid.
cold.
It sure
was
was.
cold, and we were in the workshop making lasts.
I had some cold feet that day,
You
for
had
sure.
cold feet that day, and then we did the first fitting in your club, the Carlton
That's right,
Club.
Carlton.
And we tried your shoes on first, and now we're ready to do the second, really, and the final fitting, where we really look at the shoes. They're in an almost finished state. They've still got some work to do on them, but we just need to check that they're going to be okay for you to wear and stuff before we ship them over
My
to you.
club shoes, why don't we take a look
Exactly,
at them?
yes. So
here
the
they
club
are.
shoes, they're not polished yet. The correct laces aren't in them.
Beautiful.
The bottom of the soles are not finished as yet. We haven't actually done any of the cleaning or the staining at the bottom. But what we really need to do, even having the trees made, is quite a dramatic process for the shoes. The trees have to come in and out when they've actually turned the last, and they actually need to make these things. It involves the tree being crammed into the shoe on a lot of occasions to get the fit right and everything correct. So the linings tend to get a bit mucked about as the trees go in and out. So we just need to check that everything is all right for you before we actually finally finish the shoes off now then.
And that's one of the things about a bespoke shoe is, even though the shoe is finished, for a ready-to-wear pair, it would probably leave the factory like this. But with the bespoke shoe, you're going to spend a lot of time polishing it up, finishing the soles, resocking it.
Exactly, yes. So the basic making's been done. When we last did the fitting with you over at the club, we'd had no soles and heels on it. And when you try on a shoe and it's got no soles and heels, there's none of the structure actually supporting your foot. So even though you actually try it on in a fitting stage, it's not like actually putting on a real shoe. So finally, before we need to actually ship you the shoes, I need to check that everything is going to be okay for you. So the soles and heels are on, so you've actually got the structure now. You're going to be pitched at the correct angles, you're going to be supported in the correct way, and it gives me a chance to actually check the fronts, the rims across the front. If you can remember, we did a couple of things at the fitting. We reduced the vamp line here, so we gave you slightly less room here, and we clipped the back of the heels because I was concerned that it wasn't actually tight enough across the back of the heels for you. So I've made those adjustments to your lasts. What I did was we went back into the workshop. I slimmed down this part of the last even more. If you look at it, it's really got a tight clip to it here. And I actually took some of the front of the last out of here as well.
See the rasping almost.
Exactly. So the rasping, the telltale signs where we actually took some volume out there. So those things I've adjusted anyway. But I really need to, just before we finish them off, we really need to make sure that everything's looking okay. And I need to make any final adjustments before we actually then finish the soles, finish the internal linings, polish them all up. And
you built the heel up. So one of the other things is, again, the last time, we didn't see the heel on the shoe.
Nope.
Did you have a fitting heel?
There was a temporary fitting heel. And that really affects the balance of the shoe. When you actually try something on, you're never really going to get an accurate fit. It gives me a chance to actually see the shape of the last on your foot, but I'm not really fitting a final finishing shoe. So this is much more similar to the way that the actual final finish shoe is going to be.
It's a beautiful heel. Nice pitch.
Yes, it's a
It does have quite a pitch. It's
it's not low. It's got a fair pitch. It's really clipped because it's designed to follow the lines of the last. So I don't really want to see any kind of square angles with the shape of the heel. A classic bespoke shoe should have a pitched heel like that.
And elegant,
so it's
slightly
elegant.
pitched.
And it's small, it's not huge, it's not running down the length of the sole here. It's a small heel, it gives you all the support you need, but it's designed to actually sit underneath the shoe as well.
And you're building this heel up totally I mean, by scratch. I mean,
Yes.
that's part of your making.
Exactly.
I mean,
It's
because
just-
you know what's unique about you is not only are you doing the last making, but you're actually making the shoe all the way through.
Yes. Yeah, and that's so it's just layers of leather. They're pasted, nailed on top of each other, and then the whole thing is just trimmed round and filed and set into the shape of the shoe.
Yeah.
Beveled waist. Again, we've got a fair bit of finishing still to do,
Mm-hmm.
but then again, we've got the seamless back that you asked for. You know, the cap toe and the swan's neck facing.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, let's put them
So
on and
really,
see
let's put them
how
on and
these
see
fit.
where we need to go. As I said before, as I mentioned before, we've taken the heels down slightly. I was a bit concerned at the fitting that we didn't have enough clip on the back of the heels, and we've just taken a little bit of volume out of the front of the shoe as well.
And that's to prevent the heel from sliding.
Just we don't want you're very narrow through this area of your foot. So when I originally made the last, I hadn't really allowed for the sheer slimness of that heel, and so I really wanted to narrow that down. A nice fit across the front. And again, the other thing that we did notice on your last, you may remember I mentioned that you had a prominent cuneiform bone, so that's just sitting at that point there on that lace hole. So
don't
just
even
want to
feel
make
it.
sure you can't even feel it. Yes, so that bone on the middle of your instep, you shouldn't really be able to feel at all. Pull the tongue up. And again, not the proper laces in yet, no polishing. The soles are still completely unfinished. And we'll get to that in a minute when you've actually had a chance to stand up in them. And what do you think about the look of them? Do they
I think
look,
they're beautiful.
Can I just put your foot to the back
Yeah.
of the shoe? Yeah, thank you.
I mean, it's great proportion. I love the
Yeah.
nice round toe. I mean, it's got a beautiful vertical shape.
Yes.
To it.
Well, one of the things that we were looking at was giving you some height on the end of the toes here. So as we talked about before at the previous fitting over at your club, we were trying to make a toe which was very symmetrical in shape. So if you look at the centre line, the inside shape is the same as the outside shape there as well. So it gives it a real symmetrical look. It's just a kind of classic top cap toe, but it's also got some real height on the end here, which really gives it sort of almost a sort of a vintage type look
Yeah.
too, which kind of really
Well, and it has a
suits you.
beautiful profile from the side because, again, it kind of puffs and curves over.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of toes can be quite flat
Very
on the
flat
top.
across there. So one of the things that I really like to do is actually give you some height running through the last here, which allows me to keep some height on the top of this last. So what it actually does is it just means that this one here has actually got some height here, and then the shape of the toe rolls off in these directions and keeps a very symmetrical line here as well. So, you know, there is a lot of, in a way, even something as simple as a round toe, cap toe Oxford, there should be a lot of shaping and a lot of drama going on with the
Yeah.
toe as well.
I
It's
think
just not flat and plain.
Well, I think you hit it spot on.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to
They
me a
look
little bit
really
about
nice.
the toe spring. So if you look at the last, there's
Yeah.
quite a bit of toe spring, which
Yes.
is the distance between, you know, I guess the floor and the point of the toe.
Yeah.
And that's, you know,
But
it's
that's
something that the French shoemakers really don't put into their shoes. I mean, my Dimitri Gomez shoes have almost no toe spring. If you look at
Yeah.
these,
They're very
it
flat.
sits almost flat. So
Yeah.
speak to me a little bit about just kind of from your shoemaker's perspective, kind of where that tradition comes from.
I think the first thing to say is that a classic English bespoke shoe, the heel is slightly higher than you probably would expect on any other type of shoe.
Okay.
You know, they're usually at least 1 1/8 inches at the back to help give you the elegance and the line and the shape of the heel. So you're actually pitching up the whole last slightly higher than you would see on many ready-to-wear shoes. You know,
Okay.
most of them are dealing with heels which are essentially much lower than that. And as soon as you actually get that height and pitch, it just changes the whole angle that the shoe is actually sitting at, which I think gives it a much more elegant line. And the difference is that is actually not the toe spring of the last, because what you've got to allow for is you've got to accommodate the height of the back of the heel, which does actually bring down this toe
That's right.
shape quite a lot. So, I mean, we've still got a nice spring, and that's really just going to help you walk. You know, the walking motion is a rolling motion as much as anything else. So you can hear people, I can hear people in the street walking behind me, and I know that there's not enough toe spring on the last that their shoes were made on, because you sound flat-footed. And you can hear people walking up the street, and it
Yeah.
sounds as if their feet are clonking down because there's no real roll. And without that toe spring,
And it probably
it's
also
just
helps
difficult to
minimize
walk.
creasing because you
Yeah,
crease the
you've
shoe
actually-
less with toe spring than you would
Exactly.
with none.
You've got to have that spring in there. Well, you've got to have it in there to walk, and to walk comfortably as well. Really.
Yeah, which at the end of the day
So-
was what we're after.
Exactly. So Kirby, they're looking nice. The adjustments that we made seem to be working okay. But let's come over here and we'll take a look at them in a mirror. And we'll sit over here and we can see. So there we are. It's always nice to get a different perspective on your shoes, to actually see them in the mirror and
Yeah.
see how they're actually fitting and how they're looking.
Absolutely beautiful.
And what we always have to understand about shoes is that they're just part of a context about you. They're about how your jacket is, the tie you're wearing, the trousers, how they're sitting with the trousers, how the break in the trousers is coming across here. So, you know, the shoes are actually part of you rather than anything else. And as I always used to say, you know, it's really nice to see somebody that actually, when you walk into the room, probably the first thing we don't want to see is your shoes. That's the second thing we want to see. Once we've seen the rest of you, we'll then look at your shoes.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see them just from a different perspective and a different angle, really.
The shoes are beautiful. I mean, I love. I don't think I have a pair of shoes that have as much kind of three-dimensional shape built into the toes we have on this pair.
The last making is all about getting that three-dimensional shape in. So it's all about getting the heights in here, and it's about getting the movement through the side and the clip through the side here. It's not so much the shoemaking. What you're actually seeing when you comment on the shape and the drama of the shape is that's pure last making underneath. So it's the last making that's supporting the shoemaking. This is probably one of the hardest shoes to make. I mean, it's an Oxford with a cap toe. You know, visually everybody's really familiar with this shoe. So the key for a shoemaker is, how do you make an Oxford with a cap toe look different and interesting when a man or a gentleman goes into a room full of people wearing Oxfords with cap toes?
Yeah.
And that's the key of the shoemaker, and that all really comes from the last making.
Absolutely. Well, it's a beautiful shoe, and you know, I can really feel the support kind of through the heel. I mean, the heel, not just you know, in the back of the heel, but the insole, the base of the heel, just how it really kind of cups and conforms.
Right.
Yeah, there's some
that's
nice
happening on the
arch
bottom of the
support.
last.
I mean, it's a comfortable shoe. I mean, the
Great.
creasing and everything.
Great, yes. I mean, well, you know, everyone's going to actually get some creasing. I think what we will do is, before they come out to you, I'm going to take some more of the volume out of here. I mean,
Okay.
we took some out at the first fitting, and I probably need to take some more out. I want to keep the height here, but I think I need to take some more volume out. The width is perfect. So in terms of your joint, in terms of your small toe here, and the big joint there, absolutely perfect. Probably too much volume just running through the top here, so that we don't want quite that amount of room there. So it's a small fine-tuning thing, but that's exactly why I wanted to see them on your foot before they were actually finished.
And you know,
off
the
shipped
gaping
to
of the
you.
laces, I mean, again, is
Yep.
perfect. I mean, there's just a
Yes.
small, I mean, you want a little bit of, you don't want those, you know, that to
No.
kiss, because then you don't have any room to
Exactly,
tighten the
so
shoe.
you've actually got to be able to tighten it up and adjust it in the long run. So, I mean, those
What do you aim for? I mean, what's
essentially-
an appropriate amount of kind of gaping right there at the top?
I wouldn't like to see really more than 5 millimetres to start off with, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Once it gets bigger than that, it begins to actually look ugly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't really want to see much room. And I know that what happens over the years, these will gradually close up. You know.
Oh, really?
These will
Yes.
gradually come to
As the leather stretches a
gradually
little
come
bit.
together as you actually pull them tighter and tighter.
And I guess
so
that's
you've
another
always
problem.
got to have some accommodation through here. They shouldn't really be meeting to start
Yeah.
off with.
Yeah, and if it meets at the top and then the shoe stretches a little bit, then at some point you end up with a shoe that's too loose.
Exactly. Yes. So, and again, those are things which can be adjusted further down the line, but we want to start off by getting them right
Yeah.
in the first place, really.
Yeah.
And that's by far the easiest. That's why it's so important to do the fittings and really think through the fittings, because it's easy to adjust these things at this time. And when I ship them to you, and when they come out of the box back in Dallas, you know, I want to know and be confident that you can actually just
Yeah.
put them on your feet and they're going to be fine.
And there's a certain bit of validating the last also, right? So that whenever we make the second pair, you know, we know that they're going to fit just spot on.
Exactly. As we said right at the beginning of this process, you know, Bespoke shoemaking, we often concentrate on the object.
Mm-hmm.
But actually the whole thing about Bespoke is it's about the process. It's about us developing a relationship
Absolutely.
together. It's about us living with the last. It's about us changing the last, refining the last. Obviously, this is your first pair and I want to get the last right and get the shoes right for you. So that's my key interest. It is if you can actually get the first pair right, then further down the road, you're in good shape, really.
Well, so how much time do you think you'll need to, make those minor adjustments and then finish these up and send them
Probably,
in Texas?
I mean, they'll be down with you in Texas in about 6 weeks, I should think.
that's
I
great.
do need to just adjust the last. I want to make one final adjustment to the last. I want to take some volume out across the fronts there, and then it'll be finishing off the bottoms, doing the internal linings, and adjusting the trees again, because if I'm going to take some volume out of the last there, I need to take some volume out of the trees as well. So, they'll be with you in 6 weeks or so.
One of the things that I think is so important is that, in finding a bespoke shoemaker is, you've got to find a bespoke shoemaker that can make a beautiful pair of shoes. These are beautiful.
Thank you.
You've got to find a bespoke shoemaker that can also make them fit and be comfortable. And these fit and they seem incredibly comfortable. But I think the most important thing that connects those two dots is really the relationship and the integrity of the shoemaker, to really see that process through to its end. And I couldn't be any more happy, Dominic. So thank you so much. I really look forward to receiving these in the mail. Everyone that's on the channel, of course, they'll get to see the unboxing video where we really, unveil these, officially and introduce them into my wardrobe. And gosh, I can't wait to walk around the streets of Dallas.
Great. It's been fun, and that's what it should be.
Yeah,
the
sure
Bespoke
has been.
promo should be fun.
Yep.
We should enjoy ourselves.
Yep.
So thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dominic.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.